Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see you all here. Good afternoon and welcome. On behalf of IE School of Politics, Economics and Global Affairs, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the opening ceremony of the cohort of graduate programs 2025-2026. My name is Isabel White, Associate Director of the Master Programs, and I'll be your MC today. This morning marks the beginning of an exciting new chapter for each of you. Ahead of you lies months of journeys of learning, challenge, growth, and discovery. To set the tone for this journey, we are honored to have with us a distinguished lineup of speakers who will share their insights and inspiration. To begin with, it's my pleasure to invite Carolina Parilli, Executive Director of Master Programs at our school, to deliver the first words of welcome.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you, Isabel, for the introduction. So it's great to finally see you all here and putting some faces on you. We have been reading a lot of information about your profiles and so, but the feeling of putting faces is a different thing, no? We're very happy today because we are opening with a very big cohort, and well, we're happy to welcome you to this enriching experience that you're about to begin and that we're formally starting today. So as Isabel said before, I'm Carolina Parilli. I'm the Executive Director for the Master Programs at the School of Politics, Economics and Global Affairs. And of course, I'm not alone. Behind my role, there is a team full of committed persons, associate directors, coordinators, program assistants that you will see every day, probably, and that are ready to help you from today and until the day of your graduation, at least. Because once you become part of the IE community, you'll be very proud to be part of it. And of course, we're going to keep on the communication and the interactions further. So I'm very proud to welcome you today. I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to know much more about you on the week ahead. I don't know. There you go. Okay. So to start, I want to congratulate you for making it this far. So, you know, having decided to learn and to focus on education right now and being accepted to our programs is already a huge achievement. So I'm a true believer that whatever you choose today will have an impact in the world tomorrow. And, you know, giving the hand to IE and walking together to the future, I think it's a good decision, and I cannot imagine a better institution to begin with. So this chapter starts in your life, and what we hope from you is that you become agents of change through the action, passion, and the constant search for solutions to the challenges of the global and international landscape. So today you have many, many days ahead to graduation, and we're going to be here to accompany you, to give the hand, and we're going to be kind of the lighthouse for you for the moments that you need support and help during the academic year. I would like to begin by sharing some information about who you are, because probably it's the first time that you're sitting next to the person that you have to your left or to your right. I know that you had a coffee and an activity before, but it's the first day that you are together and you meet each other. So in the moment that I did the presentation, you were 156, but today you're 158. So we're opening, as I said before, a pretty big cohort in the School of Politics, Economics and Global Affairs, affectionately called SPEGA. The average age for the Master in International Development, the Master in Applied Economics, and the Master in International Relations is 24, while for the Master in Technology and Global Affairs, which is the first cohort, congratulations, the average age is 23. From the 158 students starting today, we have 65% of female representation in the classroom, which is around 62% in the MIR. It goes up to 85% in the MID. It goes down to 57% in the MTGA, and a bit down again in the MI, with a 30% of female representation in the classroom. In the programs, we have 48 different nationalities, or at least when you were 156. American, Chinese, and Italian are the nationalities that are represented the most. And in terms of professional background, this is a whole word inside of it, but you have an average of 3 years of experience in the public and in the private sector. So here you have the nationalities for which you have 2 or more students in the whole cohort. And as I mentioned before, American, Chinese, and Italian are the most represented in the classroom. But we also have Spanish, British, Dutch, Argentinian, Bulgarian, Canadian, Croatian, Honduran, Indian, Irish, Jordanian, Mexican, Moroccan, Norwegian, Polish, Portuguese, Turkish, and Swiss. If you are not on the list and you are not mentioned, it's because you are the only one that is representing that country in the cohort. So in the moment that you're enrolled at IE, you have a big responsibility already. You're a part of the IE community, and you're an ambassador of one of our core pillars and values, which is diversity. Respect and embrace that diversity, and take advantage of being surrounded by profiles as diverse as you have in class. It's a matter of different profiles, backgrounds, and goals, but it's not only about nationalities, it's also about perspectives and ideas. And this is the best environment to learn and to grow. When you join the master program, there are certain things that we expect from you. We expect that you adhere to a strict standard of academic integrity and professional responsibility, to a solid commitment in terms of time and effort, companionship, respect, and leadership without arrogance, shared knowledge over competition, and the representation of the IE community now and in the future. These are tools that in turn will help you to succeed on the following 9 months with us. And not wanting to take more time, so we have prepared an agenda full of activities, sessions, events, networking opportunities, and more. And of course, I want to invite you to enjoy them from the beginning and to set the tone. Create strong bonds with your classmates, with the faculty, with the staff, and of course, with the program management team. Because as I said before, we're going to be there to guide you and to help you and to give support until the end of the program and to make this experience as smooth as possible. Time goes very quickly, and you will be already immersed in core courses and some evaluations, so try to take the most out of this amazing orientation week that is coming ahead. And lastly, good luck. I hope that you enjoy the week. I hope to see you succeed after the graduation, and you have 301 days left to the graduation, so congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Carolina, for opening today's ceremony with your warm welcome. To continue, we are joined by another leader of our school who plays a key role in guiding the management and direction of our master programs. Please join me in welcoming Borja Santos, Vice Dean of IE School of Politics, Economics and Global Affairs.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the school, welcome to IE University. I guess apply to a master is not easy, right? I mean, you need to check with your parents, with your friends. First of all, you need to have a good performance and a good GPA in your bachelor. Then you need to have, you are in average 24, so most probably you have 3 years of experience, so you have been working in different places, and knowing that in order to get a master at IE, you need good qualifications. You need to spend a lot of time doing the application. You need to pass the interviews. So you are here because you deserve it. So the first thing I want to ask you is please give you a big applause because you are already here. And also, during the cocktail, you will be able to interact with some of our staff. Some of them are the program management that will accompany you during the journey, led by Carolina. But before that, probably you met people from admissions that interview you. You met people from commercial teams in different places of the world. Maybe in Brussels, you met an IE person that talked to you about the masters. There is people here that are working us on communications and helping communicating the most important events and news that are here. There is people that organize a lot of extracurricular activities. So many of them are there behind, some of the faculty as well. You see them standing up. Let me ask a big applause for everyone who is engaging in making you and accepting you and communicating all the info. So thanks to them, you are here. So please, let's give them as well a big applause. Okay, so where are you? I mean, it's a university, right? But IE has different schools. Historically, the business school was the most famous one because it started 52, 53 years ago. But IE University has been broadened a lot, the spectrum, and now there are 6 different schools. You belong academically to the School of Politics, Economics, and Global Affairs. The acronym is SPEGA. So most of the times you will hear you are SPEGA students. But while you are in the campus, you can meet students from other schools, right? Our school has grown a lot. It used to be 15 years ago a school of international relations. And you will see in our alumni, our master alumni, you can see probably Master in International Relations alumni that did the program long time ago. But the school has been growing. We opened first economics, and it was a school with master's, bachelor's program in economics. And finally, we opened public policy. So we have a lot of programs in political and public policy affairs. And in the middle and in the intersection, we created programs on international development and in technology and global affairs, and you will see more and more. So the school has been evolving and has been growing exponentially, and right now we are the second school at IE. So this is really important because imagine a university that historically the core of the business, the core of the university was a business school. Having a second school that is focused on economics, on global affairs, on public affairs, on development is shocking, is really important. So you are going to see that IE University is also highly guided by our efforts, by our events. We are bringing former prime ministers almost every month. So you are going to see that there is a lot of activity related to your topics in the campus. So our goal, and this is very important because you are now ambassadors of SPEGA. Now this is your first day, you are current students, you will become alumni, and somehow the prestige of the school and the prestige of the university will accompany you and will accompany your degree. So our vision is to be at the top 10 School of Public Policy. In some places they call it the School of Government, in other places they call it School of Global Affairs, right? So you are now ambassadors of one of these top 10 schools, right? And one of the signals that you will see is our innovative pedagogy. We are winning in the last years a lot of awards internationally, and you are going to check it on your own eyes. During the orientation week, some of you you will start traveling and visiting the computing center in Barcelona. Some others will start settling a refugee camp here in the campus. Other ones will start simulating a trade agreement between the EU and the US. And others will as well negotiate economic agreements. So you are going to see already in the first week a lot of innovative pedagogy. And this is one of the signal and most important characteristics of the school. What is our compass? Our compass is that even though we are a school of public policy, we are always in the intersection with the private sector. And many of you actually are going to work in investment banks, in development banks, in consulting, but many of you will be interested in the impact in the society. So always we will be talking about that intersection between public and private. The Sustainable Development Agenda is our spine, actually, and one of our most important partnerships is a partnership with the UN System Staff College and many other different UN agencies. So you are going to see that sustainable development is always there in every course, is always applied transversally by every teacher, and all the events and activities that we do are guided with that spirit. Then, as you have seen, we have 48 nationalities, so diversity is our core, but in our case that we are a school of global affairs, of course, in the campus, we are going to be speaking about things that are happening worldwide. We have one initiative that is called One Month, One Region, where every month we focus on activities and events and debates on one particular continent. Because the idea is that we try to cover most of the important things that are happening worldwide. But at the same time, you are in Spain, you are in Europe, So there will be a bit of focus on Europe, right? And now, actually, on behalf of our Dean, Enrico Letta, I want to as well to greet you. Our Dean is in South Africa right now, but if you follow a little bit what Enrico Letta has done, I mean, he has been the former Prime Minister of Italy, but as well has written one of the most important reports that is guiding where Europe should go in the future. That is the Letta report, the single market report. So you are going to see in the social networks how our Dean is somehow speaking in many different parts of the world, talking about the future of Europe, and he will also talk to you about that. So there will be a little bit of focus on Europe and the relationship between Europe and other areas, and other regional areas. And one day we will have time to talk about the strategy of the school, but let me give you, in a quick glance, our 7 priorities. The first one is the portfolio growth. I mean, here you can see the programs that we have in masters and in bachelors. So raise your hand if you are master in international relations. Very good. You are a big cohort. Even some alumni are raising the hand behind. Raise your hand if you are master in international development. Very good. So we see the biggest cohort are these 2 programs, and this is because they are the old ones as well. But what about the Master in Applied Economics? Very good, welcome. And the Master in Technology and Global Affairs? This is the new program. Welcome as well. And next year, from next September, we'll be opening a Master in Public Policy. So you will see that all the activities and events that we organize are open for all the programs. So if you are a Master in International Relations, but you are interested in technology, don't worry, you will be able to connect with those activities. But if you are Master in Technology and Global Affairs and you love development, you can participate in many of the events focused on development. So the idea as well is that you are part of the school and you benefit from all these programs. We are developing strategic partnerships. I mean, all of your programs are co-developed with partners, with institutions that are very aware of the current trends. The Master in International Development, for instance, is co-developed in partnership with the UN System Staff College, the UN agency in charge of training senior UN officials and partners of the UN. So who can better give us an idea of what are the sustainable development trends nowadays, right? The Master in Applied Economics, for instance, one of the partners is PricewaterhouseCoopers. So it's one consulting company that is actually economically suggesting and giving advice to public and private institutions. Another example could be the Master in Technology and Global Affairs. We are partnering with GESDA. GESDA is an organization focused in Geneva that organize a lot of international events and international knowledge on tech and diplomacy. And I could go and so on and so forth with many different partners. They will be here in the campus, and the idea is that you connect with the speakers and real practitioners all the time. The third priority is improving the student experience. So all of you will participate in an immersion week, and that will be very exciting. And there will be plenty of activities that we will communicate by email. So aside of focusing on the studies as well, focus on the extracurricular activities that we organize, because that network will give you opportunities for jobs, will give you a lot of joy, will connect you with very interesting people. So don't miss them. The fourth one is careers and alumni. So from the beginning, the idea is that, I mean, the course will be very intense, the study plans is really intense, but you start focusing on what you want to do in your future, right? So there is a team in our career department with a lot of different mentors. So the idea is that from the beginning, you get advantage of that mentorship. You get advantage of the recruitment days. So there are specific days where we bring human resources from particular institutions focused on that particular area. So take advantage of all of that. And take advantage of our alumni. I mean, just checking in LinkedIn where our alumni is, you can connect with people, with alumni that will open you doors. So if you have a personal trip to your home country, why not? Check from the alumni in LinkedIn who is based there, who you could connect. So take advantage of that. What I can say from our faculty is amazing. I mean, half of it belongs to the internal faculty. They do very interesting research, and half of it are practitioners, people that are working in institutions that will bring a lot of value to the programs. So if you are a person that is interested in research, we have an applied research center, the Global Policy Center, and at IE there are different research centers that are very worth. So try to get in touch with them. If you have a particular interest, try to find out which research center could be more aligned to your interest, because research is is one of the main priorities of IE at this moment, increasing the research impact. So take advantage of that. And finally, visibility and prestige. Now you are our ambassadors. I highly recommend you to follow the LinkedIn, the Instagram, if you love the TikTok, because we post a lot of interesting things that are happening in the school. So it's another way to stay in touch. So I want to give a space to our guest speaker that is fantastic, but from our dean and from all the team, welcome and enjoy your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Borja, for sharing your vision for the journey that awaits our students as part of such a dynamic school as ours. Each year, our opening ceremony features a keynote address designed to inspire us with perspectives from those shaping today's world. This year, we're privileged to welcome Carme Artigas, Senior Fellow at the Belfer Center, Harvard Kennedy School, and a leading world expert in the fields of artificial intelligence, big data, and digital transformation. As co-founder and former CEO of Synergic Partners, one of Europe's pioneering AI firms, Carme has been at the forefront of technological innovation for nearly 2 decades. Her leadership extended to roles at Ericsson, Innova, and Barcelona Activa, and she has served on advisory boards for institutions such as Columbia University's Data Science Institute and the Spanish Association of Managers. From 2020 to 2023, she held the position of Secretary of State for Digitalization and Artificial Intelligence in Spain, where she led the national AI strategy, cybersecurity initiatives, and also played a key role in shaping the European Artificial Intelligence Act during Spain's EU Council presidency. Today, Carme continues to shape global AI governance as co-chair of the United Nations High-Level Advisory Board on Artificial Intelligence, and as mentioned, as a senior fellow at Harvard Belford Center, the first Spaniard to hold this position. Her contributions have earned her international recognition, including being named one of the 30 most influential executives worldwide, and receiving the Grand Cross of Military Merit for her impact on digital defense. Please join me in welcoming Carme Artigas to the floor.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me. You know that IE is a very special institution for me, from personal and professional reasons. So first of all, good morning, everyone, and congratulations. Being here today means that you have already made a very important choice. You have made the choice to dedicate the next chapter of your lives to international relations, international development, economy, geopolitics, public affairs, different disciplines, different lenses, but all of them connected, but one single invisible thread: technology. Yes, even those who are not following the technology and global affairs programs are impacted by technology. In the 20th century, it was defined by oil, steel, armies, but the 21st century is defined by data, codes, networks, artificial intelligence, data center, quantum computing. Technology is not only a vertical sector, an industrial sector. It is the infrastructure of power, wealth, and identity. And it will shape every single path you take from here. Let's think about it. In economics, algorithms decide where capital flows, fintech changes how billion people access credit, and digital platforms are rewriting the rules of trade. In international relations, nations are not just negotiating borders, but competing over chips and rare earths. AI ecosystems and the sea cables. Alliances are now signed not only in military treaties, but in digital standards. In geopolitics, cyber attacks can destabilize governments, misinformation campaigns can alter elections, and the race for quantum computing may shift the global balance of power. In public affairs, trust is fragile. multilateralism is in its lowest point ever. And how we regulate or not regulate technology, from AI to social media, will determine the future of democracy itself. So the map of the 21st century is no longer about territory. You know that we come after the Second World War with a clear global order, and now we're in a clear global disorder. We are in a transition, where you are a transition generation, between a world that no longer works, the world inherited after Second World War and Industrial Revolution, to a new world that is yet to be defined. And you are the ones that are going to define it. And between this transition, we need to find a very important answer. Are we going to let the technology development put in jeopardy all guarantees, all rights that we have taken centuries to achieve? To answer this question, I've devoted the last 5 years of my professional career. I have a 25-year career in the IT sector, in the private sector. I'm a technology entrepreneur as a venture capitalist, also in public administration. But the last 5 years, as mentioned, since 2020, I became the State Secretary of Digitalization and AI and the Governor of Spain. But even though I was responsible for the national strategy on AI and quantum computing, digitalization, MSMEs, also on cybersecurity, I was the president of the National Cybersecurity Institute, the thing I'm most proud of is because Spain was the first country in the world in writing a charter for digital rights, the Bill of Digital Rights, that inspired also the European Declaration of Digital Rights. And the last 6 months of my role in the government, I was the leading negotiator of the European AI Act, the first ever standard in the world, putting limits of what AI can do. Because that's the real question. Not anything that is technology feasible should occur. We are the first region in the world saying there are things we do not want AI to do. Even though it's technically feasible, we don't want AI to control our lives in open spaces, and the government knows that now I'm here in EA and know what are my 5 emails that I sent, the 5 things I talked on WhatsApp, even when I'm on open space. I don't want the governments to have a surveillance democracy, or even that my face is used to be recognized on my gender, my sexual tendency, or whatever, and also my religion, because I wear a cross, or I wear a moon, or whatever. So I think that are the things we need to question. Or do we want an AI to connect our brains and manipulate our brains? So now we listen to music, and then we have electric poles that asking us to buy this in Amazon or vote this party, because, you know, this is already possible technically. So the question is, not what technology can do, is what do we allow technology to do? Especially in this era of generative AI, and the next one, which is present already, agentic AI, and the future, physical AI. Because this generative AI has 3 important characteristics that no other technology has ever had before. First of all, it affects every single vertical industry. No one is excluded. It will affect every single industry: agriculture, healthcare, industry, automotive, defense, aerospace. But for the first time ever, there are some particular industries that had not been touched before by technology, which is the creative industries. For the first time ever, technology is not only replacing those tasks we didn't want to do in the Industrial Revolution, which is making force something irrelevant. So I'm a woman, I can lift a 300-kilo weight because I can push a button and a crane will take it for me. So that makes force something irrelevant. But now for the first time ever, generative AI is making some cognitive abilities irrelevant. What are those cognitive abilities where human beings will not be necessary anymore? And the first time ever, I was told that technology will come here and will replace me ironing my shirts, changing the oil in the car, or taking the garbage out of my house, because then I will be writing poems, writing songs, or painting. And now AI is painting, writing songs, writing poems. I'm still ironing my shirts, I'm still changing the oil of my car, and I'm still taking the garbage out of my house. Some point, it went south. I guess because it was a man taking the decision, so I was really not paying attention. But this is the reality. So AI can replace us. And the second unique characteristic, which is unique for this technology, is that it can continue to evolve without human agency. And the fact that we still put human in the center is a decision we should make. Because if we think about in 10 years' time, is there anything that was asked this question some days ago? What is the one thing that AI will not be able to do? And I was saying, I could say, yes, a human empathy, whatever. No. Whatever we decide, we don't want them to do. That's the real answer. So that's your responsibility, because you are the generation that we have to make those decisions. Who will design the AI systems that reflect democratic values rather than bias? Who will negotiate cyber treaties the way diplomats once negotiated nuclear ones? Who will rethink economics in a world where productivity comes from algorithms, not factories? The answer could be sitting in this room. So when I first changed all these challenges, and the last ones really was becoming the co-chair of the United Nations Advisory Body for AI, when we issued a very important document that I encourage you to read, which is Governing AI for Humanity. So AI is really putting a lot of opportunities for us in healthcare, in human interaction. Imagine, when I was the state secretary, one of the first questions we had is leaving no one behind. How can we bridge the digital divide? You know that 2.5 billion people in the world still do not have access to internet. And the digital divide, the problem was we don't want to leave anyone behind, especially elder people who don't know how to interact with technology, with computers, even with WhatsApp, or even people without data literacy. Now, this ultimate barrier has been erased forever, because we don't need to understand the language of the machine for us humans to interact with machines and having access to all the knowledge that is everywhere. Because now we can talk our language. What was the language of the machine? It was coding. We had to learn how to code to be able to interact with machines. Now we don't need to do that, because anyone learning to speak as a human being can interact with all the knowledge in the world. So we are having the possibility to eliminate forever the ultimate barrier for the digital divide. However, this is not happening. And in the global study we did in the UN, we see a very important gap in the global governance. First of all, everything we know about AI has been developed with data from the global north, with computing power for the global north, and with talent for the global north. So if you ask, for example, an AI tool to draw a person, writing or painting, 100% of the times will be right-handed. They will never produce somebody left-handed. Imagine what level of bias this is. And this is a very simple one. Do you think that the AI we have access to reflects the diversity, cultural ideas, religions, backgrounds? This is not happening. Because imagine, there are 118 supercomputers in the world. One big one, as Borja has mentioned, in Barcelona. Out of the 118 supercomputers in the world, there is no single one in the global south. Not in Latin America, not in Africa, not in South Asia. So how can we create these really ecosystems that we need to build the next generation of AI, which is really solving the real problems of people? Oh, by chance, all these countries which are not sitting at the table, not even to decide anything about AI treaties, they are the same ones that in the global south are suffering the most of climate change and sustainability issues. So we need to put them in the table. And this is why 1 year ago in the UN General Assembly that is starting today, and I'm having to be flying tomorrow to the UN week in New York, we approved all these recommendations. And luckily, last month, 15 days ago, we approved one of the first measures, which is building an international panel, international independent scientific panel of AI. Because the problem of AI today is lack of transparency, lack of accountability, because this is hidden in black boxes developed by private companies. So we need to put that into the fore, and we need to ask for transparency, monitoring, and governance. The second one being approved this week is an AI global policy dialogue. We need to sit everybody in the table with the same weight, with the same vote. And the third one, which is going to be, I hope, the final resolution this week, is to launch a global fund for AI. We need to provide, as a development tool, the funding necessary to the global south to develop data, which is diverse, computing power and talent to really create new entrepreneurial ecosystems to solve the real problems that we're going to face as humanity and as a society. Without that doubt, this is going to be a very powerful tool used for military uses and no real social value. Because we are witnessing really an arms race for AI. You see now everything is about AI supremacy, especially side by side to the Pacific Ocean, no? Between the US and China. This is race for AI supremacy because the AI supremacy is helping countries achieve economic supremacy and military supremacy, but not necessarily in this order. So if we left this ungoverned, which is people confuse ethics, regulation, and governance. Let me step by if I have 5 more minutes. I've been dealing the European AI Act with the big tech. And they were telling, we don't need you to regulate us. We don't need regulation. Because we already have our ethical code. Okay, that's nice to have. But an ethical code is subjective. It changes from CO to CO. The ethical code of Twitter by Jack Dorsey is not the ethical code of Elon Musk's. The ethical code of the former President of the United States is not probably the same ethical code of the new one or the next one. This is subjective. The ethical code of an Indian culture is different to the ethical code of a Chinese culture or European culture. So ethics is nice to have, but it doesn't give any right. It doesn't preserve any rights. It doesn't respond for accountability. What we really need is governance. Governance means what are the systems, the instruments we must put in place to ensure that companies and governments, developers and users are making a use of AI in an ethical way. And for that, we need these tools. And regulation is one of these tools, a very powerful one, but not the only one. We can have regulations, we can have market incentives, we can have transparency requirements, monitoring tools. And that's what we really cannot renounce to have. Because otherwise, all these great benefits of having access to big amount of knowledge, as we are seeing already, increases in research and development in the scientific space with, things like AlphaFold that are reducing 80% the cost of R&D in the pharmaceutical industry, we will not be able to grasp those opportunities because this is a question of equality. All the big transformations have benefits and costs. And the key here is not just some of us reap the benefits and some other just pay the cost, just pay the price. How do we make a society which is equalitarian in the opportunities and cost? And I think it's the task you need to do. So the only challenge is that your generation that was very vocal in the climate change, because you really have two very important, we owe you as a generation to solve two important problems, that if we don't solve it, there will be no second chance to revert back. One is climate change. There is no planet B. So if we don't solve forever the sustainability of our planet, we're done. The second is the ethical development of technology. Now is AI, but immediately is quantum computing or synthetic biology. If we don't solve it right first time, there will be no second time to revert back the harm we will create. And the problem I see in your generation, the generation that has been very, very vocal in the climate change, the young generation who was like pointing the finger to our old generation saying, oh, because of you, we have inherited a planet which is not sustainable. Join me in this endeavor to make a better world. You are not claiming digital rights. I don't see a revolution of young people saying, I want my privacy back. I want to have transparency in what is in the black box. I want to know how technology is impacting democracy. You are not claiming that. You know why? You are not claiming digital rights because you don't know you have them because you have never had them. You have lived in a world where you don't have the opportunity, as I had, in living in an analogic world, as our generation have. We know what privacy is. Our parents didn't have any clue what we were doing. I'm getting back, we're Spaniards. We wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. They had no clue what we're doing. And now I have friends who have 8-year-old kids and they're going in a excursion with a school. And if the kid has not answered in the WhatsApp, they are locating your kids all the time. I mean, you are not reclaiming rights you don't have. So you need to help us because we know where are the limits. But it's something that you should also look for defending yourself because it's the future of democracy and the future of, in general, the humankind. So just last but not least, some recommendations. Let me leave you with 3 challenges for your journey in IE. First of all, think across disciplines. The future doesn't respect silos. Be the economist who understands geopolitics. Be the diplomat who understands data. Be the policymaker who understands technology. Second, be bridge builders between cultures, between public and private sectors, between technology and society. The world desperately needs connections. Lead with values. Power without responsibility leads to fragility. Whether you work in government, in business, or diplomacy, remember that technology must serve humanity, not the other way around. So let me just share something I learned especially in my last 5 years. I didn't have all the answers. I only had questions. But you know what? What really generative AI is telling us is that the answers are already there. The important things are not the answers. The important things are the questions. Because when a society finds answers to the already existing questions, that's called evolution. But when a society dares to pose and ask new questions, that's called a revolution. Welcome to you. I hope you start the next revolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Carmen, for your words. I think we have time. I know you have to run, but I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions from the students. So maybe you can raise your hand if you have a questions. We'll only take 2, and Carmen will answer them for you. Anyone with a question? No? Don't be shy. Yeah, okay, 1 question. So maybe you can state your name, your program, and where you're from, and Carmen will answer for you. We have a microphone somewhere as well.
If you are that shy, you're not going very far.
My name is Nicole. I'm from the United States, and I am in the Master in International Development program. My question is, as you mentioned, climate change is one of the pressing issues, and there's been a lot of conversation about how AI uses a lot of water, energy, or things like that. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, how do we balance using AI in a way that's environmentally sustainable?
Absolutely, that's a fundamental question. Currently, the battle for AI is reality, the battle for the control of data, and the battle for the control of energy. Especially in the United States, where there has not been, for the last 25 years, real investments in renewables, then you find that the #1 industry requires energy that you don't have in the country. And this is what this changes the geopolitics, because now everything is about having access to the maximum energy capacity of the world at the lowest price. This is why you have treaties with Saudi Arabia, with Iran, controlling Venezuela, but also a lot of investments in data centers in Europe, especially in Spain, where renewable energy is cheaper than anywhere else. Also, the renaissance of nuclear power. All of a sudden, we're talking about nuclear 30 years after. What's going on? Because we need that energy to push, to feed the data centers that will have the GPUs to process these big AI models. But that shouldn't happen this way, because the reason why this is this way is because the current generation of AI is based only in one single technology architecture called the transformers. So GPT, that T stands for transformers. And that technology is very inefficient. Look at what happened with China when they launched DeepSeek. They are doing that with much less consume of energy and computing power. Well, I will tell the reason, I can extend the reason to why this is this self-fulfilling prophecy that we need to bet only one technical infrastructure, that's an economic need. But just to compare, ChatGPT 3, because 4 and 5 are optimized, but just to make an example, processes 3 trillion tokens, which is exactly the numbers of neural connections we have in our brain. While every time you make a prompt in ChatGPT, you are using the same amount of energy to recharge your iPhone the whole night. So how many things you ask ChatGPT every minute. So every time you do one question, one iPhone. Imagine that. However, you know, how much do we need to keep our brain working? A sandwich and 4 glasses of water per day. So there's a lot of room for improvement in the efficiency of the algorithms and the software to make that a little bit sustainable. So I really trust that the next generation of AI will definitely not require that amount of energy. And this amount of energy we're building will be excess capacity for other users. But really there's a challenge. And in fact, on the social point of view, big data centers are being rejected from many villages because it creates also a lot of social impact, and that balance is to be defined. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jiho or Isaac from China. I have one quick question from you. You're talking about the legalization of the like online property in Spain. Just published a rule to like legalize all the like online property, for example, like decentralized coins or like NFTs. I think you mentioned about in your speech. I just wondering. I do have one question. Like, things is actually decentralized. And how are you going to regulate this, people's properties if you actually put things online and decentralized? Will be like Spain has maybe in the future has a sort of like a decentralized banking system to sort of regulate regulations to to oversee those sort of transactions. Or how are you going to protect the decentralized like online property of Spanish people? That's part of my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say Spain, the development of distributed ledger applications or blockchain applications, I would say there are specific areas when it's working, but I would say this is not the field where Spain has the most traction. Although, for example, in the next generation funds that I was managing, we devoted a special project, especially in the community of Madrid, to apply blockchain in this field. At the European level, we are going through the digital euro, and I think that is going to be very impactful. So Bitcoins are not probably the main priority at the government level. They are regulating that also. But at the European level, the digital euro will be really a very important thing. And I know that the real estate are using blockchain to use that to protect the privacy of the ownership, but I must admit that it's not something so much developed in Spain. Probably there's a room for doing that. However, blockchain also has some sustainable issues in terms of energy consumption. So really the net zero in terms of cost is not that clear. So I think this is an area that we will develop a lot during 5 to 10 years. But in all the things we've talked today, the important thing is trust. And I always put the example. I do not go to a restaurant and ask for a stick tartare if I was not 100% sure that that restaurant has gone through all the health controls. So why don't we ask for the same security in AI? Because if we build a trust ecosystem, when something is certified that it doesn't have harm, that has been trained, it doesn't go against copyright, we would adopt it massively, which is the approach of Europe. So all these things like blockchain, digital currency, it has to do with trust. If banks have built the trust, so we'll lend the money to them. If the new players build that trust, we will adopt it massively. The only thing we are not adopting massively because we don't trust them. Because they still hallucinate, because you don't know who is using that data for. And I think that if we really want this new economy be relevant and track the development of the next century, we need to build trust infrastructures. Bueno, no, puede estar entre las dos, pero me perderé.
Okay, so maybe another one?
Pero yo quiero escuchar también la... Si solo son 5, vamos rápido, sí.
Hello, my name is Luna Zavalía. I'm from Argentina. I have like a 2-in-1 question. The first one is, how do we guarantee the regulations that come out of the United Nations, given the different given that most of the financing of the United Nations system comes from the global north, how do we guarantee that the regulation is not gonna replicate their interest? And at the same time, how do we guarantee that the regulations do not harm startups in other regions, such as Latin America, which are crucial for development? Thank you.
Okay, the question of regulation of AI is my best topic, as can you imagine. Because I say that Europe, and you will see that it's very important that Borja mentioned, important that you are in Europe and you probably, that coming from abroad, see things in a different perspective, no? Because remember that Europe is a project that was born after the Second World War. It's a project for peace. So we try to come to consensus all the time because we want peace to stay. So the approach of the European regulation, we are not regulating AI. So that we are losing definitely the battle of the narrative. Europe is losing the battle for the narrative because our narrative is not built in Europe. The narrative is built on social networks that are not in Europe. So the narrative is, let's put it this way, you are people from other world, US invents, China copies, Europe regulates. I'm sure you have listened to this sentence many, many times. And we probably believe it, and that's not true. Not only that China has the highest number of patents of AI in the world, but also Europe invents a lot, especially the next generation of AI was built in Europe. DeepMind was a UK company, that then was acquired by the US. Of course, the US is investing a lot in R&D, so everybody invents here. We don't regulate AI. That's the second false narrative. Europe is not regulating AI. It's not regulating the hammer. It's saying if you use the hammer to hang the picture in the wall, no problem. If you use the hammer to kill somebody, you go to jail. So we are not regulating the technology. We are only regulating the high-risk use cases of technology. So the AI regulation does not affect R&D, does not affect startups, does not affect the development phase. It only affects when you have a final product that you want to launch in the market commercially, and it fits into the levels of high-risk product, which is 90% of your solutions are not high risk. High risk means that affects safety, health, or fundamental rights in key areas like employment, judiciary system, administration system, schools, or whatever. So it's a very limited high-risk use cases scenario. Okay? So first of all, we don't need to buy all the narrative we listen. So this is not hampering innovation. The reason why Europe is not competitive in the digital field is a total different one. Read the diagnosis of Enrico Letta or Draghi. It's because we are not acting as a single market, although we have 400 million users and consumers, because we in the past had different regulation of every single country. We are 27 countries with different languages and different regulation, and that makes it very, very hard to escalate in a digital world where all tends to standardization and economies of scale. So, and the most important problem we have in Europe is that we don't have access to the huge amounts of money that this industry requires to scale up. We don't have a problem with startups. We produce the same number of startups in Europe and the US per year. The problem was these companies to scale up, they don't find still the money in Europe. So we know the weak points, but that doesn't mean that we are wrong. Doesn't mean that we are wrong and to put limits to AI. And my belief, and this is what I'm working for, is that needs to be create this trustful environment. So regulation will not be equal to everybody. We don't pretend that. Not even United Nations. But this is why we talk about governance. Governance doesn't mean that the UN becomes a global regulator of the world. No, governance means that we are agree in a bare minimum. The bare minimum is everything we do for AI should be under the UN Charter, international law, and human rights. And that very basic thing, we are struggling to achieve those consensus. We want AI to be transparent. I'll tell you, as a stick tartar. Why are you hiding me? If I'm asking for transparency of the large language models, how have they been trained? Do they have biases? Are they infringing copyright law? Because you pretend that I use it, isn't it? You pretend that I use it. Am I inheriting your risks? I don't want to inherit your risks. So when you are asking for transparency, and the big 10 are reluctant to provide that transparency, the question is, what are you hiding? No? For example, on the energy consumption, that's something the companies don't want to reveal. This is why probably there is a trend of going to more open source software in Europe, because that could be more transparency. We'll see. But that's the reality. I firmly believe that the reason why Europe is not taking a leadership in the digital sector is because all the other factors, not because we have a law that prevents that. The law is generating a safety environment for adoption, and we hope that we have the leadership to take advantage for that. Two more, and that's it. 1 and 2. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for your inspiring talk. My name is Hannah. I'm here with the Masters in International Relations. I'm from Germany. My question is more regarding the cybersecurity and cyber attack / warfare kind of realm. In my understanding, like the cyber warfare is very much like a gray zone. But I want to ask you, like, how do you think it will affect diplomacy? How we talk about war? How also with traditional kind of
mentions. This is why one of the discussions about increasing the budget for the NATO, this 5% from the national budgets for the NATO, and the position of Spain was, my God, this cannot be just weaponry. This cannot just be bullets. This should be the new warfare, which includes cybersecurity, which includes drones. And that's the new dynamics. But important, mental space. Fake news are no longer an isolated thing versus cyber attack. When I was the president of the National Institute of Cybersecurity, cyber attacks are already considered the ¡1 organized crime in the world. So first, #1 organized crime in the world is cyber attack. Second is narco traffic. And third is prostitution and people traffic. But #1 is cyber attack. And 5 years ago, there were two different worlds. The world of deep fakes and fake news. We were considering the way to solve that was just with codes of conduct, fact-checking, and the journalists behave well. And then you had this cyber attack world when you need to pursue organized crime. 5 years later, these two worlds have merged. There is no single cyber attack that has not been preceded in what we call a mixed hybrid attacks, no cyber attack that is not preceded with a previous campaign of disinformation. So now the way to tackle or fight against fake news is the same as we need to fight cybercrime. Follow the money, follow the organizations who are funding this. So we are really in a new scenario. So when we're talking about the things that the states need to do to agree upon, cyber treaties, protection, and also persecute together the organized crime around deepfakes, fake news, and cyber attacks.
Hi, I'm Manu from India, and you talked about how AI models are being more optimized, right? Now, I could be wrong, but when you're looking at consumption, like in terms of sustainability, consumption seems to be the biggest point of concern. So consumption never really drops, right? For human consumption, it keeps increasing. So in terms of AI, even if it is optimized in the future, consumption's not really going to drop. It's going to keep increasing. So should the real question be optimizing the models, or should it be more towards restricting the use to important or key areas where AI has to come in? So right now we can use AI for everything from drafting emails to whatever, right? Making a project. And I use it myself, but the point is, should the question be centered around restricting or optimization, considering even if you optimize, the effect on environment is still going to be massive?
No, my guess is optimization without doubt, but you've raised a very important point. Currently, the level of projected consumption of energy worldwide, just on AI, is about 3 to 5%. Only consider AI models training. But what you have pointed out is the reality that can be increased unto 15 to 20% of the global energy consumption because of AI inference, which is what you're saying. One thing is to train in the model, ChatGPT, once every week, but the other is every time hundreds and thousands of millions of people are accessing at the same time that tool to make a consultation, to ask for a question, or to solve, or to coordinate, or automate a process. That is called inference. And inference, it is consumed where the consumer is. This is why that is putting so much pressure, not only on the generation of energy, at the point where the data center is, that is less important than improving the energy grids that the consumers have access to, that capacity to empower the models in a local basis. This is why we will see probably a return on edge computing demands, optimization on the point of consumption, and less important of the big, large models, which will come like operating systems, and more important to the small models, which will be more, I would say, specified to the industrial data you need to solve those problems. So the future is not on the large language models. The future is in the small specific models, which will be more curated by more data that will be less hallucinations. And I think that's exactly where the challenge of Europe is. At the end of the day, I don't care if my operating system in my company is Microsoft, Apple, or Linux. That is the general purpose technology. The important thing is, what do I do with that operating system? Probably the operating system is DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Gemini, I don't care. The important thing is, what do I do with that? And the importance is, what I do with a small model that I need to retrain from the general one with my unique data to solve my unique business problem. I think that's where the opportunity is. And definitely, the consumption will not go down. The consumption will go up and up and up. I will need to replace the existing technologies with a more efficient one, but optimize the AI inference in the place of consumption. Thank you. As you see, a lot of questions coordinating all these topics, so really, I encourage you to take the most of this great experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you very much for coming to IE today. It's been a privilege to listen to you. Next up, no one represents better the future that awaits you than our alumni. They sat exactly where you sit today and can share how their journeys reflect the endless possibilities that you have ahead. So we welcome Shuo Xin, alumni of the Master in International Relations class of 2011 and currently HR specialist at the International Finance Corporation in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Carmen. Every time that I come back to this campus, I always learn something new, and especially on those cutting-edge discussion. Really, congratulations for that speech. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. 下午好. My name is Shuo, proud IE alum, and also, as mentioned earlier, I'm currently working as a recruitment specialist for the World Bank Group, IFC, covering the Latin American and Caribbean region. So, as I mentioned earlier, it is a great honor to be back to this campus and welcome you all to IE University and this very global community. So 15 years ago, I was excited, nervous, and full of questions about what my next chapter would bring me. And then looking back, I can tell you that this journey will give you a lot of surprises and more than you expect if you walk into it with openness and courage. I grew up in China, as you can tell from my name. China is an environment culturally or linguistically very homogeneous. Over time, I became fluent in Spanish, English, and Spanish and English. Those are my foreign languages through my education. But later, I realized that actually by just having the language fluency, cannot really help you to thrive in a very truly global working environment. So it was here actually, at IE, I had my first real global diverse experiences. And suddenly I was working alongside classmates, from very different cultural background, academic background. And I still remember my first days. I feeling very awkward, actually. I tried to navigate through myself very unfamiliar social norms or codes or unfamiliar classroom dynamics. But IE doesn't just expose you to diversity. It pushes you to embrace it. It taught me what initially feels uncomfortable is often where the deepest learning curve. Those moments of awkwardness become turning point because they force me to grow. So upon graduation, after spending some time working in diplomatic institutions in Beijing, I was contacted by IE and got the chance to come back to Madrid. And this time, actually, I joined IE Talent and Careers Department, actually one of the pillars that mentioned earlier by Borja. So this is going to be a key partner that you need to leverage or resource that you need to leverage for your job hunting after the graduation. So, studying here or working here are totally two different perspectives, but there are always something in common: innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. Because at IE, no matter you are a student or you are a staff member, you always got the chance to do something from scratch. Okay, you get the chance to work with taking a leadership, taking an initiative. So think about maybe spending this year to create your own student club, or compete for a presidency of an existing student club, right? And during my time as staff member here at IE, I created a network of recruiters in the development and the social impact sector. So actually, many of those recruiters keep coming back to IE. By the way, next Monday, there will be a very important recruitment event. I believe that this is going to be our first event during this academic year. So one of my colleagues will actually travel to Madrid to circulate the great opportunities that we have at the World Bank Group. So if you have time, just remember to stop by that event. And in addition, I also had the privilege of working on a partnership with the China Scholarship Council. I think I can tell that there are some scholarship recipients coming from that network. Also want to share that actually just earlier this year, I got reunited with a alumni from the first cohort of CSC. And because she joined IFC, the institution that I'm currently working at in DC, she joined IFC, alumni from the school. And it was a very special reunion for myself because, you were the career advisor for that person. And after 4 years, she became your colleague in the same institution and served for the same mission of the global development. So those experiences actually showed me that your career doesn't just happen to you. You shape it through the opportunities that you take and the network you build. The mindset carried me into the next stage of my career and eventually to the World Bank Group. I still remember right after my graduation ceremony, I went back to my classroom to take one last photo. On the whiteboard, I wrote down a big dream to become the president of World Bank. So you learned that later, after even getting your degree in IR, you still have a lot of things to learn. Because I think one thing that I didn't write down United Nations is because World Bank sounds a little bit rich, sounds like a rich, financial institution. But I also didn't know during that time is the president of the World Bank has always to be American. So that technically that dream is impossible for me. But even though that goal sounds very far away, I think still I was able to join this institution after 10 years after my graduation. So remember to make a wish on that whiteboard in the building of Maria de Molina 11, because for me that whiteboard is technically the trivia fountain. Okay, so of IE, by the way. So looking back, I never imagined my career actually would take me across the continent, Asia, Europe, North America, and South America. So IE opens those doors for me. What carried me forward was passion and resilience. I never let go of my dream of working in international development, and each step, whether my studies, internship, or early jobs, become a building block toward that goal. So if passion gave me the spark to start, resilience gave me the strength to keep going when things go hard. Just I want to say here, by choosing to study international relations, economics, international development, global affairs in this very complex and turbulent world, I think you already show up both passion and resilience yourselves. Now, a quick reality check as HR. We are the most evil person in the institution. Programs like IR or international development or economics open doors to many different fields and career paths. The flexibility is strength, but it also means that it may take you some time to realize, what is the stepping stone or what is the landing spot after your graduation, or what the program taught you can really translate to a job title or job function, okay? But that is perfectly okay. So when I graduated, I didn't immediately land the role that I'm having now. It took me exploration, patience, and also trial and error. The key is leverage your past experience. Gather as much as information as you can, and use this year as a time for your real self-assessment. Carmen left you 3 challenges. I want to share with you 3 tips, actually very aligned with what she just shared. The first thing is keep an open mind. Be curious. She mentioned about we need diplomats who knows technology, right? We need economists who knows agribusiness. Same thing for IFC, World Bank Group. We are not just recruiting an economist anymore, a traditional economist who knows how to build a model. We want to hire economists who is specialized in agribusiness, who is specialized in labor market, okay? And if you're an IR graduate, we want some people also know big data, because data is really something that we want to measure also the social impact that we generate for each project. Okay, so think about use this year to choose a specialization, explore possible courses that you can also take from other schools. Okay, IE offers a very interesting ecosystem of academic studies, so take advantage of that experiences. Second, build your network. Networking is actually an English word I first heard at IE. So, because in my native language, networking is something has a negative meaning that you get connecting with people for advantage, or could be also sometimes translated, I think, in Spanish in two-face, right? So coming from a very traditional education system that mostly value only just the academic excellence, and I myself am an introvert, I'm not very good at connecting with people. But to be honest, and also even today, I'm still working on being more effective for networking or creating my personal branding. But I want to say, IE community was and it still is the safe place for myself. Because even 15 years after the graduation, I still continue to benefit from this global community. Just last year, in my recruitment work, actually I hired 5 IE alumni for the region that I'm covering, Latin America and the Caribbean. And whenever I go, no matter it's Washington, D.C., Bogota, or Nairobi, I can always find IE alumni and to get insights on work and personal life. So don't be shy. Connect with people from other programs, not only just from this school. Connect with people with IMBA, with Master in Finance, MIM, because that can also facilitate this multidisciplinary learning. And then you never know. You might find your future business partner to create your own social enterprise. And then you probably will also encounter with peer mentor or even a lifelong friend. My last tip is enjoy Madrid. The city may not be the capital of international politics. You probably want to appreciate that, actually, because now I'm living in Washington, D.C. Everything is happening there. But it is the capital of art, culture, and life. Take advantage of it. Visit the museums if you're not from Spain, you're not from Madrid. Explore the nearby towns and learn how to echar una buena siesta. Take a good snap. I want to say that I'm keep practicing this skill for myself. The power nap always helped me during those long trip and then very hectic work. I also have to say, I have to confess that I didn't do it very well, enjoy the life during my year. I was too focused in my study, but I regret it. I regretted that not, having those sobremesa, those long meal with your friends from the class, from the program. So please, study hard, yes, but also let the city teach you how to live well. Madrid has a way of reminding you that success isn't just about what you achieve, but also about how you enjoy the journey. So my message to you today is simple. Approach this year with open minds, curiosity. with the intention to build lasting connections and with the joy of living in this extraordinary city. You will have moments of doubt, moments of stress, and moments when you wonder if you have made a right choice of coming to do this, this program. That's normal, but you will also have the moment of clarity, moments of growth, and moments of pure joy that you will carry with you for the rest of your life. Welcome to our university. Welcome to this global community. I cannot wait to see the impact each of you will make in your careers, in your communities, and in the world. Thank you, and enjoy the journey.
Thank you very much, Shuo, for sharing your story and experience here at IE. And with that, we conclude our opening ceremony. As Shuo just said, congratulations and welcome to the IE SPEGA family. We look forward to seeing how you'll grow here with us and beyond. We're going to have a coffee now until 3 p.m., but first we're going to call each of you programs up to the stage so we get a class photo. Okay? So thank you very much, and we're going to start with the Master in International Development. So if you want to come to the stage, we'll take a photo.